Hey there, Facebook. You are listening to Vanessa here, your motivational speaker, trainer, and head coach from Live, Love, Give. And sorry, I'm getting a bit confused because I've got two videos going. So hi, Instagram. I'm testing this out. See how it goes. But really, today's message is all about the fact that an undirected mind is your absolute greatest limitation. And why this message has sort of come about, I had actually, normally when I jump on these lives, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I just love rolling with it, and whatever's kind of top of mind, I just go for. But I actually had a couple of like really amazing ideas. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to do a Facebook Live on this. And then I've changed it completely because of a situation that happened in Melbourne just yesterday. And it got me really thinking, and I was just having this conversation with my mum, and I'm like, I'm going to talk about this today because ultimately, so for anybody who's unaware, and probably if you're not in Melbourne or in Australia, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But yesterday we had an incident in the main city area where a driver, went down and knocked he went 80 to 100 kilometers an hour apparently through a tram stop and knocked a bunch of people. Nobody has yet died, but it was a pretty bad situation. And we had a similar incident happen not that long ago, only a few months ago, in the same spot really. And anyway, it's not a good situation. There's casualties, there's critical people, all of this bad stuff is happening. But ultimately, why I'm really talking about this, it's a really sad, and my heart absolutely goes out for those beautiful people and those families, and and these men who did this. Everything makes sense to the person who does the thing that they do, and that's really strange. But the driver had a lot of mental health issues, a lot of drug issues. We'll see what happens and comes about. But I'm not here to get caught up in the news. I'm going to admit, I actually don't watch the news. And when I'm back home with my parents, they know everything that's going on in the world, and they're totally across the news and all that stuff. So I know that if something important happens, they're going to let me know. And a funny thing happened. So yesterday, I was working away, and then sometimes I need a bit of a distraction or a bit of a break, and I follow some guys who just make me just absolutely crack up. And what better thing to do than share that experience with somebody else so you can magnify the funniness of it. So I found this video popped up. I watched it, thought it was hilarious. I went outside to my mum to share it with her, she was gardening, but she'd been listening to some news that had come on the radio or something. And her first reaction was like, do you know what's just happened? And I'm like, oh, what? I'm caught up in this funny video. And, this terrible things happen, and we were just there, and, that could have been us, and these poor children, and all this stuff that makes a lot of sense and absolutely has validity and absolute truth. But where does your mind go? Do you get caught up in that? Or do you shift gears? And I help mum just shift gears for a moment and, yes, validate absolutely these beautiful people, that have had this terrible experience, and it's Christmas, and yes, I was just in Melbourne, and we were just in that area catching a tram a few days ago. But do we get caught up in that? Or do we recognize that an undirected mind, getting caught up in all those negative details, all those things that could have, should have, or would have happened, and all the terrible negative things that happen, and yeah, that other thing happened a few months ago, but it's a regular thing in people's minds. But what I said to my mum was, okay, but what about that beautiful experience that we had with that beautiful little boy who, came up and gave me those flowers, handed me those beautiful flowers. If you've been following along with what happened, when I was in Melbourne, that cute little boy just randomly came up to me and gave me some flowers, and he was just beautiful and he was cute. And what about all those conversations? I saw people, sit down with homeless people on the street, and they they spoke with them, they treated them like a human being, like they are. And they made that person's day who's so used to people just walking by and ignoring them or, looking at them in disgust. And, what about all the beautiful things that don't get reported each and every day that are constantly occurring and constantly happening in the world? And do we focus on that? Or are we going to focus on the one incident, the random incident with somebody who does this terrible thing? But where does that get us? Because I know people who get caught up in those bad things that happen in the world, and it stops them from living life. They don't go travel because this thing over here happened and, I'm not going there because it's too much of a risk. Or, they stop. Somebody has a bad experience in a relationship. So they're like, oh no, I'm not going there. I'm not going to get in a relationship. There's too much risk. Or, all these different things happen that prevent us from living our lives because we focus in and hone in on what the news tells us, some negative story that, yes, let's give our hearts. Let's see what we can do. But that's the ultimate word. What are we going to do about it? Stop getting caught up in this undirected negativity that gets us caught up in this mind-made fear and this inability to live life to its fullest. And actually, if you're going to focus on it, what are you going to do about it? What's the solution? How can you make this situation better by you directing energy toward it? And if you realize that there's not anything that you're doing in actual fact to make this situation better, and in fact, all you're doing is creating and magnifying more negativity, more fear in the world, then why? You get a choice. You get to choose what you're going to focus on. You get to choose how you direct your mind. And one direction is going to lead you down a realm where you start building a story where there's so many terrible, bad people in this world and it's too scary to go into my own city and I'm not going to travel because this thing happened here and that thing happened there. Or you can have the mentality of, okay, this terrible thing has happened. It's going to happen. It does happen. But what about all the beauty in the world? And I discovered at Date with Destiny last week that part of my major mission in my life and in this world is to absolutely enjoy and hone in and add to and contribute to the beauty of humanity. Not the negativity, not all the fear, but actually the beauty of humanity. To wake people up to the beauty that is around them, that all that they have to be grateful for. And if you're going to focus on the negative, and you only do that if you're going to make that situation better. If you are going to identify, how can I be a solution to this problem? How can I contribute goodness? How can I negate the fear? What can I do about this? Who do I have in my sphere of contact that I could help shift the mindset of? How could I talk to my city about how we can, make this sort of situation, preventable? How can I talk to the mental health agencies where this person who was in the driver's seat was, he was dealing with these outside sources of help, but obviously it didn't work in that moment. How can we get to these people who are dealing with such emotional angst that they go out and do this stuff that seems crazy to us but makes sense to them? How can we help and support that situation? How can we build preventable measures? What can we do about it instead of sitting in our own little homes, watching the news and getting so caught up in the negativity and building these negative stories about how bad human beings are that prevent us from living life fully and actually engaging in community. So that's really what I'm looking to talk to you guys about today. I'm wondering how this Instagram thing is going on. I'm kind of like not looking at the camera, but it's kind of fun. So I'm going to see how this plays out. But definitely, guys, if you have any questions, if this is resonating, if you've got any, contradictions to what I'm saying, get them out in the conversation today. I'd love to hear from you about what your perspective is on, really an undirected mind. And remember, what an undirected mind really is really when we just mindlessly get caught up in things that are disempowering, things that limit us. Instead of directing our mind, we can focus on the negative. It's not about like just cutting out all the negative and I only see the positive, but it's if we do focus on the negative, how are we making that as a better situation? How are we using that for empowerment rather than disempowerment and limitation? And definitely finding the beauty in humanity should be the ultimate game, and definitely giving of our support to those who need it most. So definitely going to check in with you guys now, and let me know if you have any questions. But definitely, if you guys haven't already, please come on over and join us in the Limitless Potential Inner Circle Facebook community. Over 3,000, we busted through that 3,000 mark that I've been hanging out for the last week. Our beautiful human beings who are absolutely reaching for the next level of their potential, and they want to help and support and encourage you to do the same. So definitely click on the link above and join. And if you're on Instagram, please come on over to Facebook and get that link and join us in that Facebook community. We'd love to have you. And I am going to check in with you guys and see who I've got. I've got Stephen and Alexandria and Jody and Carolina and Sam and Tony and #happiness. I love it, Alexandria. And Alonia and Lucy's here and Judy and Mohammed and Star Style and Helen and Tony. Loving that this is resonating with you, Tony. And Sam, so sad. I feel for the family. Absolutely. Some beautiful human beings that are in not a great state. And just before Christmas, I'm sure they will get a lot of love and support from their families. And, I'm a really big believer, just on that note, that when we have these kind of horrific things or terrible things happen in our lives, that ultimately you see what gets brought together. I've seen such beauty in humanity come together that wouldn't otherwise have happened had this horrific situation not occurred. So, everything is always in balance. I really do believe that. And it is up to you to find the balance so that you can shift to an empowered state and take action that actually makes this world better rather than keeps you limited. So love that. Yes. And Adnan, thanks for being here. And Alexandria, I don't watch the news either. Co-workers always share. Absolutely. There's always somebody in our lives who will, tell us what is worth knowing about, And Stefan, thanks for being here. And Adrian and Gary, my screen just went really dark, but Gary, absolutely, Vanessa, have to manage fears, downward spirals. What if future fears do not help anyone? Help to stay positive, too easy to track negatives. We have to promote positives, and that's why your group is so good. Oh, thank you, Gary, and I appreciate you being a part of the group. And absolutely, all fear is a projection of pain in our future. So, when we get caught up in that fear, we're making it so personal, and we've taken this such a personal perspective, and we're so personifying it that we can't get out of ourselves in a loving state and actually give and support and make the situation better, which is ultimately what emotional intelligence is. So appreciate you, Gary, and your words of wisdom there. And Sam, yes, validate, but do not get caught up. Absolutely. Perfect. And Don's here. And Gary, choice is such a cracking point, Vanessa. Accountability to scan for positivity also key. I love that. Absolutely, Gary. Spot on. And Jessica, great message. Absolutely spot on. Focus on positive and good. That brings more positive and good. Absolutely. And sometimes we need to be the leader for those people who surround us in our lives. And so make sure that you're being a leader of love, not a leader of fear. And if you're surrounded by people who are leading from fear, make sure that you negate that with your love, show them a new perspective, but always, always, always validate their experience. It always makes sense to them why they feel the way that they do. Validate that first and then guide them towards a more empowered state. That's what it's about. It's not about the right or the wrong. It's about what most empowers you to make this world a better place and for you to fully live life. That is where we need to come from. So I love that, Jessica. And Anita and Osria, thanks for being here. And Sam, I love that message of shifting mindset from fear to beauty. Absolutely. I love that resonated with you, Sam. And Daryl, I learned something from you the other day. People are addicted to problems. Yes, I see that now. Wow. Absolutely, Daryl. Yes. You know, we're not addicted to the things that we think we're addicted to. We are absolutely addicted to problems. And that's another reason why we find and focus on the negative, but it totally disempowers us. You know, a life lived from being addicted to problems is an unfulfilling life. You know, it might get you certain things, like you might get attention, you might get love, you might get, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to get, you know, significance. But ultimately, you're never going to be truly happy and fulfilled, and you're always going to be stuck and limited. That's what you're going to feel like. So, yes, I love that you learned that, Daryl, and thanks for sharing. And Alexandria, resonating 100% with me to be a light in the midst of the darkness. Absolutely. Beautiful, Alexandria, and you absolutely are. And Adinaran, thank you so much. Sorry, I can't say your name ever right. And Mandy, always in the spirit. Love it. Absolutely. And Andrew and Austin and Abdurman, thank you so much for being here. And Sam, finding beauty and engaging community is great for shifting fear and negativity. Absolutely. And Adrian, thanks for being here. And Abdel, and Christique and Dennis is here. Love it. And Adinaran, always call me Faith. Thanks for keeping the light on. Absolutely. And Wyon's here. Awesome. Thanks so much for joining. I absolutely hope that this message today is resonating with you guys. Actually, I should check Instagram if you guys say anything. No, you haven't said anything. So if you have any questions, make sure that you drop them below. I'll test this out. I've never done this before. But ultimately, I'm hoping that this has got you thinking about how an undirected mind always leads you into limitation. And so make sure that you are being consciously aware, particularly when these situations you're faced with, you know, when you're faced with a situation like this one where it's this negative event occurring, which is happening all the time around the world. You're gonna at some stage, you know, become, you know, get the story of this negativity, but are you focusing on it with a directed mind or an undirected mind? An undirected mind is going to get caught up in all the fears, all the negative possibilities and probabilities, and how it could have happened to you, and how the human race is a terrible place, you know, terrible beings, and all this sort of negativity that keeps you limited. Or are you going to direct your mind in a way that's like, okay, can I do anything about this? No, my heart goes out to these people. I can give them love. I can send them that love. But ultimately, I'm going to focus on where's the positive. How's this bringing people together? What's the beauty here? Or you could have that directed mind that is, I can do something about this. What's the solution? I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to find the solution. Wow, my earring just popped off. But anyway, I'm hoping absolutely that this message has resonated with you guys, and it's got you thinking about where you are just worrying and it's not empowering you whatsoever, or if you are, you know, really going to direct that mind to positivity and be that leader of love and show people the way out of negativity and limitation to an empowered state. So guys, that really is it from me today, and thank you so much, Sam. Much love to you as always, and I'm going to sign off. I'm sending you absolutely all of my love, light, blessings, gratitude, energy, enthusiasm, everything extraordinary coming to you to wherever you are in the world today. I hope it's absolutely amazing. I'm in the beautiful Warrnambool, and I might even flip the camera around quickly just to show you my gorgeous view that I get to look out on. And just before I sign off, I've got Mike. Awesome to see you, and way to go, Vanessa. Thank you so much. I'm loving that today's message is resonating, and Hassani's just joined, and Tiago, you only just arrived now, but I really hope you catch the recording, get a ton of value from today's message. I'm sending you all of my love. I'm going to flip the camera around, give you a quick view of my gorgeous view. There were some surfers out there before, but they've taken off. But much love to you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, how do I do this? There. Bit of a gorgeous view, and can I do it here? Yes. There's my view. Just giving you a quick look before I sign off. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.